What's going on, everybody? Hope you're all having a fantastic day today. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we just went ahead and finished up our live stream over on Twitch, and I do appreciate each and every one of you guys for hanging out with me, chatting it up, and watching the multiplayer reveal with me. Of course, I'll be live again the next day over on Twitch, starting between 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Of course, if you guys are interested, go link that channel down in the description of this video. But in today's video, I wanted to, give my first initial impressions of the multiplayer reveal. Of course, as the days go on, I will have more fine, detailed reviews of each aspect that was, kind of discussed during this event. But for now, I just wanted to tell you guys how I feel about the overall game, how DICE is handling things. And I gotta be real, I am pleasantly surprised. And they are slowly yet surely convincing me that this is going to be a very solid game. Again, no confirmation because EA is capable of absolutely anything, and they can always go ahead and screw up a game. But boy, oh boy, the more that these developers talk to us, the more that they showcase, it really makes me excited for the future of Battlefield. And you could tell that they truly meant the words, that they want to show us and not just talk about it, because they can't do that anymore. They can't. They talked enough in the past. Now they have to actually prove with action that they understand what this community wants and the direction that they're going to go ahead and push in. But ladies and gentlemen, first and foremost, as you guys can see in the background, this is the official multiplayer gameplay reveal. It's looking pretty solid, and they're, kind of hammering home all the crucial points of what makes Battlefield Battlefield. But regardless, all of this stuff is pointless, right? EA is notorious, and same thing with all these other massive companies, EA, Ubisoft, Activision. They got money, right, ladies and gentlemen? They have huge budgets, so of course they can afford to make the fanciest of looking trailers. So, I try not to get finessed by these things. But overall, there were some, things I've noticed within these trailers that were actually gameplay focused. For example, the ladder feature, being able to kind of put down this ladder that allows you to walk up to windows or higher surfaces. And also the sledgehammer ability, which I finally got a more in-detail look at. Because I saw it in the alpha, but it didn't look too phenomenal. But in this build, let me tell you something. Everything in this build looks tremendously better. Animations, gunplay, all of the equipment, everything is looking so unbelievably crispy. It was wild because everybody was very worried about the animations and the flow and how the game looked in the early alpha phase during the labs test. And everybody said time and time and time again, don't stress it just yet. Don't worry. We're in the early build. They still have time to polish things off and make it, a good game. And here we are, pretty much in the beta form at this point, I would say. And as you guys already know, the beta is going to be dropping in closed form on August 7th through 8th, which you can get access to, surprisingly, by watching streamers. Or even if you signed up for Battlefield Labs, I think you get access. And then the open beta begins on August 9th through the 10th. And then the final weekend beta is going to be August 14th through the 17th, which is going to be the final portion that you can go ahead and play test Battlefield 6. But as I was saying, throughout the alphas going into the beta, the improvements are just phenomenal, and watching the streamers' gameplay after they did the multiplayer reveal truly showcased how polished this game is in its current spot. Now again, we have no clue when this game launches to the masses, and we have a bunch of different people using different rigs with, different formats, and it's going to be a different story. But for the time being, compared to 2042, man, it looks like a night and day difference. I just hope that this performance sticks when it goes into open beta. And also, I hope they keep the vibes and the look of this game. The atmosphere is phenomenal right now. Please, EA, do not screw that up. If you keep this atmosphere, you guys are going to attract a lot. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot of different players. Also, ladies and gentlemen, we have a confirmation on how many maps we're going to be getting. We are getting 9 maps total. I'll actually go ahead and showcase them on the screen for you guys. Liberation Peak, Empire State, New Sobek City, Manhattan Bridge, Iberian Offensive, Morocco Valley, Siege of Cairo, Saint Quarter, and Operation Firestorm, which I'm assuming, since we're seeing Operation Firestorm, you remember those leaks I covered the other day where we saw stuff like Downtown from Hardline potentially coming into the game? I'm assuming those are real maps, just not coming out just yet, and they're going to be pushed out as DLC. But so far, it looks like a pretty decent lineup, and we've seen a decent portion of these maps, and they're all looking extraordinarily solid. I hope they play as good as they look like they play. That's all I can say, because, they look like they're phenomenal. But until, again, we get hands-on, it's going to be hard to truly critique The devs also mentioned something that I think the community is going to be very happy about, and that is the class system and how weapons are going to work. Now, again, don't forget, DICE did say in the beta, we're going to be testing out 2 different playlists. One playlist where the weapons are unlocked, and the other playlist is where the weapons are locked. And it's going to be like Battlefield 4, where you have class-specific weapons, but you can branch out to like DMRs or carbines or something of that sort that all factions are able to go ahead and use. But the way that the developers described it when they were talking about the class system within this game was exactly that, the Battlefield 4 system. They said that these classes are going to have, designated weapons that are going to go ahead and fit their combat roles. And that's a very good sign, because although they're testing, it seems that they are indeed pushing more towards the Battlefield 4 system. And as I stated before, I think the community will be stupidly excited with that information if they do confirm that this is how it's going to be moving forward. And also, they did mention the assault class being able to run 2 primaries. So if they're really going to hold on to that concept, then, I think we have to have class-locked weapons. Because could you imagine, an assault player having whatever guns that they want? That would be a nightmare. So if you have class-locked weapons, I feel like 2 assault, primaries wouldn't be as obnoxious in that scenario. The devs also went ahead and discussed the game modes that we're going to be going ahead and getting for the traditional Battlefield experience. Conquest, Breakthrough, and Rush are going to be some of the main modes, which I'm extremely happy to hear, because these are all iconic modes within the Battlefield franchise. And for the more side modes, we're going to have TDM. I believe, did they say Domination? I know they said King of the Hill, but we're going to be having a brand new mode called Escalation, which is described to be teams fight to capture strategic points, and as territories are secured, fewer points remain, forcing intense all-out conflict. Now, I don't really know what this game looks like, but I'm still very curious to, see what it's all about. As long as it could shake things up in the Battlefield universe in a good way, I don't mind some change when it comes to the game modes. But more than likely, knowing me, I'll probably just stick to, again, Breakthrough, Rush, and Conquest, but only time will tell. And of course, for the bigger modes, we got a little sneak peek of the BR, which is interesting, but again, I'm not really too much into BR, so I don't know if I'm going to care about covering that too much. But, we'll see how it turns out. And then Portal. Portal, I'm making a whole separate video about this, ladies and gentlemen. Portal is looking absolutely phenomenal. And honestly, it looks exactly like what we wanted out of 2042 when they first introduced the game mode itself. Overall, ladies and gentlemen, I gotta be real, I'm very happy with this event, and I thought it was actually pretty dang decent. But at the same time, it does give me a little worried that they might have a little too much on their plate. It is a little bit of a ambitious type of game. There's a lot of stuff going on here. And I hope that the devs can go ahead and handle it all, although I think that they might be able to go ahead and do so. We're talking about EA here, a huge budget. But again, we also see other games like COD trying to branch out and, handle all these different types of modes. And it's a struggle sometimes. I just hope that DICE does not have too much on their plate. And if they do have too much on their plate, I'm just really hoping that the core experience, what really makes Battlefield Battlefield, will actually turn out to be something decent, and unique. Because, ladies and gentlemen, as I stated before, I've been watching this game for months now. I've been keeping up with all the leaked footage, all the information behind the scenes, what the developers are doing, how they're planning things around the community, what changes are going on with the labs, and every step of the way has seemed to be pretty dang good. The looks and visuals of this game are phenomenal. The guns look outstanding. The customization, insane. Fits perfectly for a Battlefield title. The character looks, the atmosphere, the maps that you're playing on, the immersion, the levels of destruction finally again. Everything is looking like it's lining up perfectly. It really is. For the first time in a long time for the Battlefield community, it seems like DICE is truly cooking something up here. And this event was a very solid one. I can't lie. They did a good job with the multiplayer reveal, and I think they hit exactly what they needed to. It's not like any other multiplayer reveal where they just showcase a little multiplayer trailer and they talk about some points. No, they're talking about everything, all the details, and showcasing tons of gameplay, which is why I personally thought when the labs first started to, initially leak, I feel like the developers, or at least EA, didn't care. It was almost intentional, it seemed. And seeing all this footage now for the multiplayer reveal is kind of, proving exactly that. It seems like they're very proud and confident where this game currently is. I just hope it doesn't backfire, because if it backfires, it's going to set them back a decent amount. And this is probably the best time for Battlefield to go ahead and strike. I could not think of a better moment. So if they can nail this, this will be huge for the FPS genre, and I really hope they can go ahead and succeed in that department. But, ladies and gentlemen, as always, if you enjoyed today's video, leave a like. If you hate it, leave a dislike. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell. I post here daily at 8 morning Eastern Time. Everything between COD, Battlefield, Splitgate 2, Arc Raiders. I try to cover as much variety on this channel as possible. And sometimes we even go ahead and double upload when there's a lot of stuff going on. So, of course, make sure you go ahead and ring that bell so you can stay notified on all the content that drops. And last but not least, I do stream Monday through Saturday over on Twitch, starting between 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, thank you guys for tuning into the previous stream. It was actually really turned. So, all the love and support means a lot to me. And I will be live again the next day and the day after that. You guys already heard me, Monday through Saturday. So if you guys are interested in seeing any more details, hanging out with me, chatting it up, whatever you feel, you can find a link to my Twitch channel down in the description of this video. But as always, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.